All right, it's 6:30, so I'll call the meeting to order. The first item is to adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt tonight's agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 3, approve the minutes.
I wasn't here.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from November 15th.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes for the November 15th meeting. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Bill, I got a question from
Oh.
Kevin real quick.
I just wondered when I was looking over the minutes, I didn't see anything about the whispering, what is it? What am I thinking, whispering aspen pond, the drainage.
Oh, with the algae?
Well, I think that was in the
It
notes.
was right in the
That's right.
beginning, yeah. Because I had brought it up as a follow-up to the previous month, because we actually discussed it in October.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was tabled, right?
It was tabled in
Mhm.
October.
Right.
Jack, we're gonna probably look at it again.
No, it was at the November meeting, now it's here.
Yeah, we tabled it in October. Mary Helen brought it up at the November meeting.
Right,
And,
It was off the agenda.
yeah, it wasn't on the
Yeah.
agenda.
yeah.
Has anything been done about that? I haven't heard anything.
No, it's gonna come back to the park commission probably this spring sometime. We got a little bit of time to do something up there. Yep.
Kevin, do you have a copy of the minutes in front of you? You do? So item 3 there in the minutes. And there was a more in-depth presentation at the, it was October, right?
October.
October
Yeah.
meeting?
Yeah, yep.
I know I saw it, I just couldn't find it when he asked. And it would have been real easy to miss.
Yeah, it was a one-line,
Yep.
one or two.
Yeah, that'll be back before the park commission. I've gotten some numbers on Connexus on running power there. And, Jack and I kinda talked about, we're kinda just wait till the spring to readdress that.
The algae side issue, I didn't see the whispering aspen, so I didn't connect.
Well, I think we were looking at it as an overall city project too, so that we have answers in the future.
I caught up.
Good, all right. So I think we approved that one. So on to item 4, park financial information.
First one is our park and acquisition development fund. Nothing's changed, actually, nothing's changed on either one of these since our last meeting. So, I can go through the bigger ticket items on there. The first one was, the dugout covers for the, Booster West ball fields of $3,385. The $58,000 was to pave the trail at Booster West. Down in the park capital fund, the $1,595 was playground safety mulch for, Bondi. The 4,200 was for, the class 5. We've got the trails built at the John Anderson Park. That's all ready to go. We're gonna pave them this spring, so that will be coming out of that budget, in 2023. The $23,000 was for the court resurfacing of the basketball court and tennis courts at Whispering Aspen, and the $34,000 was for the playground equipment at Bondi Park, so that pretty much wrapped up our 2022 projects. We have $136,833 left in the capital fund.
I know you talked about the dugout covers for Booster West, but
Yep.
Booster East didn't have dugout covers either.
No, not yet.
Okay.
We're still chipping away at, we started on field 5 will be the next one.
Just
That's
double
the one
checking.
around here.
Yep. Kinda working our way around.
Understandable. We can't do it all at once.
Yeah, so we're doing it all by hand with our guys are doing it all.
What's
Cutting
nice
the
that we're
pipe.
keeping them busy in the parks.
Yeah, keeps them, something to do in the wintertime too, when it's a little bit slower, they can get out there.
Can they catch that beaver?
What's that?
Can they catch the beaver?
They've been,
that
so
took
far,
all the
they've been,
trees.
we got rid of them, I think, so.
They keep coming back.
No, they always keep coming back.
I walked the trail and I went, huh, I can see all the way to Palisade now, and
Yeah.
I can see all the way across to the Superfund site.
Must be the one that ran into me in my driveway one night.
You have all the wildlife in your driveway.
I do.
We've had a lot of issues on our drainage ditches around the city this year too, with beavers causing flooding. So, the populations must be higher around here this year. Second part is our operations budget. We're in good shape there at 87%. wrapping up the year, we'll be under budget on that, so.
Good.
I was gonna ask a question about, where is it? Has to do with the benefits cafeteria contribution. So on the city employees for the public works, how many do we cover?
In
Just-
parks,
Yeah,
I believe it's 4.
and how many do we have in public
8.
works? So we cover half still?
Yep. It's
Okay.
kind of split up that way. They both do all the jobs. It's just how they account for it on the budget.
Well, I know that we kind of split with roads before, and now roads is gone, so,
No, there's a roads operations budget that's just like this, that has the
Okay.
other form. So they're basically just split up. And they share a lot of the equipment, a lot of the repairs are kind of split between the two budgets. They're kind of interchangeable. We don't
well,
have
I
enough
just wanted to
set.
make sure that I was still that,
Yep,
so I knew what was going on, because I was like, I wonder how this is working now that we have all new people and,
yep.
Things
So
have
there's
changed.
4 full-time on here
okay, cool, thanks.
and the seasonals. Any other questions on the operations budget?
Move to approve the parks financials?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the park financials. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 5.
All right.
I have to say, we did a great job this year.
Yeah, thanks, Nate,
Thank you.
for that. Nice work.
It's nice that we have enough guys that can do things in-house as opposed to having to hire out, yeah.
They're all very stingy and frugal too, so they do it cheap.
That's
We
good.
appreciate that.
We like that.
Oh, boy.
Item 5, this is the Coon Lake Park Draft Development Concept Presentation from Karen Blaska from the Anoka County Parks Department. She was out here before, as you all remember, and they've got an updated plan, and she's gonna
And we
present
kind
to
of
you guys.
grilled her.
I missed that.
Well, I'm Karen Blaska, Park Planner for the Anoka County Parks Department. And I was here a few months ago, it's been a while, sharing our engagement findings with you. And so since then, we've kind of compiled that and put that into a development concept for Coon Lake. So this is kind of what I want to run by you tonight. So I think it was shared with you guys in your packet
Mhm.
as well.
Yep.
And so the first slide, actually, if you flip it, sorry. Kind of just shows the general development concept. You know, we'll do some improvements at the entrance, and I'll run through all these in a second. Do road and parking improvements, public access improvements, trail, maintenance facility improvements, and then the beach and picnic area improvements. So at the entrance improvements, we know Lexington is an issue. We've heard that loud and clear. Unfortunately, that's not a parks thing, it's a highway thing. So I have been in contact with our highway department, trying to figure out what we could do to increase safety at that intersection. And so we kind of determined that we can add a right turn lane for coming into the park. And we would do that in addition to then the no parking zone that is on the north side of Lexington, out, I think, 400 feet from the entrance. So we could do that as well. In addition to the turn lane, we would widen the entrance road. Right now it's 22 feet. Our standard is 24. I actually think if we went 26 or 28, that would be better with all the boats and trailers that come through there.
It's kind of swampy there, though, isn't it?
It is. There would be some impacts we would have to mitigate for. And then also a new digital entrance sign there, which would be tied to a monitor, camera, scanner, something at the parking lots to tell us when there's spaces available and when there's not, so that when the lot is full, people don't even have to turn into the park to launch their boats, you know? They'll see that it's full and they can go on to the north side and try there.
Is that
So-
similar to the water park at Bunker? Don't they have a sign similar to that?
They don't.
Oh, I thought
They
there was a
don't.
sign.
We might just program that on occasion.
Oh, okay, that's what I saw.
But yes, we're gonna try and use some technology that can just do that automatically, so we don't have to be involved. It's better, you know, less human error that way.
With
So
the-
then,
Can I ask a quick
Yeah,
question? With the
yes.
widening of that, you said you'd like it to be even wider. Is this plan still a draft, or is this,
right now, this is all still a draft.
okay,
And I will talk about next steps when we're done going through this. So
Okay.
right now, this is just the draft development concept.
got it.
Yeah. So the roads are similar. They're 22 feet wide, so we want to get that at least to 24 feet, so it's 12 feet a lane. We'd be extending some culverts under the roads. We want to add some lighting, and we think security cameras. There's a whole thing with our risk department when it comes to security cameras, so if we can, we're going to do that.
Are you just talking about on the road there or inside the
At the
park house?
parking lots.
At the parking lots, okay.
At the parking lots, because that's where we seem to have the most issues. So if we can prevent or catch either one, it would be better for the park. And then this is out a ways, but eventually expanding parking for the beach area. We did just add some spots, but we kind of want to see how that goes. And if we don't have to pave anymore, we don't want to.
And these parking lots that you show here are the existing parking lots?
Yes, those
Okay.
are the existing.
So if you expand it, it would be that north one?
It would be the north one.
Right.
Okay.
And so moving to the public access, we'd be reconstructing this parking lot. Whenever we do that and we have a public launch, we'll just reconstruct the launch as well. Right now, we have the small planks. They're like a foot wide by 12 feet long. We would probably convert that over to these huge planks that are like 5 feet wide and 12 feet long. It helps with ice heaving. It won't heave. Because I know we have some of that issue here on occasion, and so our guys have to come and they have to try and fix it in the spring when people want to get out there. So this has worked really well for us in the places we have done it. So we would be doing that. We'd be adding some aquatic invasive species best management practices. So a pull-off lane, clean, drain, and dry your boat signage. We'd have a spot for the inspector to be specifically, you know, in shade and things like that.
Is that something that is regular, like you have somebody there that stops every boat to make sure they?
We have a grant program through the DNR that allows us to bring people in. They're not there all the time, but they do get rotated around, and like Coon Lake is always busy, so it's one of the places that we do target.
And what do they do exactly? I'm pretty boat
So
ignorant.
they will, if people aren't drying their boats, they will educate them. They'll inspect too, you know, because some of those zebra mussels are super small and you can't see them. But mostly it's for education, but there is some enforcement that goes along with that.
I've used them a lot and they're phenomenal. I put my boat in and out all the time at different lakes in the area, and when they're there, the education aspect and whatever, it's cool.
Yep.
Good.
Yep. No, it's been a great partnership. And then develop some shore fishing opportunities. The senior center, Coon Lake Lake Improvement District, wanted us to put in a fishing pier somewhere along the park. And the lake is just too shallow there, that it would have to be like
Right.
several
Way
hundred
out.
feet long.
You'd have to go
Which is not something we want to do. So we're
It
going
would
to
look
look
great
at
in a
some.
movie though.
Right. Yeah, so we're going to look at some shore fishing options, and then maybe just a smaller convenience dock or something, just to allow people a spot to fish. Moving on to trails. Developing more loops, paving more trails, and creating some connections to the north side. So the existing natural surface trails that are there will stay. They will probably be improved, but what we would probably be adding is mostly paved trails, just for access and ADA. And creating some loops, and then the idea is that we would have a plowed or a packed loop in the winter for walking.
Would that be for like cross-country skiing or anything like that?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably not, but we would pack it so at least it's compact for
Walking.
walking. Yep.
And do we have any trails there that we can hook up to in the future?
I was looking
or-
at your proposed paved trails here. You have a chunk of the East Anoka County Regional
Yep.
Park Trail. Is that just gonna stop at where it stops here in Lexington on the bottom, or is there plans to continue that right now? Or?
Oh, there's plans, yeah, but that will be a long ways out,
How far are they
unfortunately.
going on this project? I mean, just to the entrance, basically?
Basically, it would be, yeah, basically from the entrance on the south side and then to the north.
And then some of these trails here, are you guys acquiring that property?
No,
Because it goes
it
up.
got sold,
Okay.
yes.
I was wondering. I saw it was for sale for a while. I thought maybe you guys were buying it.
Yeah, we wanted to.
Okay.
We weren't fast enough. It wasn't a priority with our board. But I'm hopeful. I'm keeping it in. I'm keeping the plan to acquire that in the plan,
Okay.
in our long range plan. Just in the off chance that maybe whoever buys it now is just, holding on to it for a while. Because ultimately we would really like that parcel.
Yeah, that would make a nice.
Right? Yes.
And that, if I recall, is that whole east side, right?
Yep.
That weird boundary line.
Yep.
Yeah, this boundary line here.
Yep.
Is it 2 parcels too? Is it broken up? north and south?
It's actually 3. There's
Oh.
2, and then there's a teeny tiny one right
Oh,
there.
Oh, that's cute.
Deer stand on it.
And then if we flip to the next slide, on the north side, we have that maintenance, I call it a shack right now, that we share with our highway department. Our highway department is actually gonna undergo, I think in 24 or 25, rebuilding that facility so it actually functions for our needs. And so we will have trails we will have parking stalls for the public at that location. And so we will tie one of the trails to that. So people will be able to park on the north side and then walk into the park.
Can you go back to the map previous and show
Sure.
us where exactly this is? I'm not familiar with that.
So,
Oh, way up there?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's what we see
It's
when
the
we're
weird
driving.
part where it goes East Bethel, Linwood,
Yeah.
East Bethel.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah, we drive by that every time we come around. We live over in Coon Lake,
Okay, yep.
so, okay.
So yeah, so you'll be able to park there eventually when it's redone,
And you could take the
and
trail.
then walk in.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Okay.
When you were here too, and last time, we talked a little bit about maybe squeezing a dog park or something in there. That didn't make the cut
That
anywhere?
did not make the cut.
Okay.
Did the hill for sliding?
That didn't make the cut
Oh,
either.
Bonnie's gonna be so sad.
Yes. I heard about that at the Coon Lake meeting too.
Yeah. She really wants to
At least you
slide.
know we're all on the same page.
Yes.
Well, Bonnie's got fingers everywhere.
And if we want to switch to the next slide, get to the beach, the good stuff that everybody is interested in. During the public engagement, we heard loud and clear that people want more shade out there. So we've already planted some additional trees, but on the beach, we're also thinking of actually doing some structures that provide shade. So similar to kind of what you see on the screen, just to offer that additional shade. So a few of those there, we're proposing to do a self-serve canoe kayak station. If you're at all familiar with the paddle shale program on the Mississippi River, that's run through the National Park Service, it would kind of follow that template. So there'd be some secure lockers, you'd reserve your canoe or kayak online, get a code, unlock it, and you'd get all your stuff and be able to canoe or kayak on the lake. In addition, we'd add some docking facilities. So right now there's kind of a conflict between swimmers and boaters kind of beaching their boats. So just put in some actual dock structures so they can just tie up, take the dock, and walk in.
For the shade, if you're a parent that's sitting kind of up in the grass with, you know, a few kids and you got some older kids down,
Mhm.
and you're kind of behind that, will you be able to see through it enough to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I think
They're
they're like
high
8
enough?
feet tall.
Okay.
Yeah. So yes, you would definitely be able to see that. So docking features, and then also we would have an ADA launch, so just makes it easier for everybody to get in and out of, you know, the lake with the canoe or kayak. The pavilions and the restrooms. Pavilions are aging. We would end up constructing those eventually. We are proposing to expand number 1 to increase it only 25 more people, so not too substantially, but we definitely do want to do that. Eventually, we'll rehab the existing restrooms. We just did those 5 or 6 years ago, so it's got a few years on it.
Those are nice.
And then ultimately, I think we'll end up taking the changing room building out and putting that as additional restrooms in the long run.
And then these pavilions will have full electricity and,
Yep, they do
Grills
have
and-
electricity now. Yep. So, and then for playgrounds, making sure we expand the playground, include some sensory equipment, speed and challenge courses, so some sort of elements like the Ninja Warrior television show, and then nature play elements. So add those when we redo the playground for that.
did we, I can't remember, did we talk about like classroom experiences and that kind of thing like that, what they do on the Hennepin side of the room?
So are you thinking more programs?
Yeah, programs where you have somebody come in and do a nature walk or whatever with the kids.
Yep, and I don't have that outlined here, but yeah, we have been talking with our staff at Wargo Nature Center about expanding where they offer their programs. So the intent is to offer more kid programs and adult programs at Coon Lake.
Good.
So that's pretty much the development concept. Any red flags for anybody? Are we missing something huge besides the dog park and the sledding hill?
I think
Um,
mostly what we heard about was the parking situation.
Okay.
Because that affected East Bethel residents the most.
Yeah. So we're hoping the camera and the technology link to the entrance sign helps with that. Plus, we're continually working with the county sheriff's office and the DNR conservation officers, just on monitoring the parking lot and the lake. So, yeah.
Is there gonna be like a park fee to get in there after this is all done? Or-
At this moment, we aren't entertaining that idea. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, there would definitely be a process before that gets decided.
Okay.
Do they have any idea on overall cost for all this stuff at all? They thought, just budget-wise?
Oh, I think it was like 6 million. So it's gonna be spread out over a while. So, but some of the smaller stuff we can do sooner.
I'm gonna assume that the road work, that's going to be, you're gonna have to work with the county roads and Because you're gonna have to block that area off for a while,
Yep.
right?
Yep. So I do see that occurring in 10 years, probably.
They're getting pretty good at putting them turn lanes in, the highway department.
They are. They're
That's
pretty
probably
quick.
the easiest part of putting a road in, right? The other part's gonna be, how do we do it so it doesn't sink into this little swamp
Right,
area?
yes,
Yeah, that's.
exactly. So, if you have any questions, comments, happy to.
When do you foresee some of these changes starting to happen?
Honestly, we've got our 5-year plan set, so I don't see a whole lot of development occurring in the next 5 years. Some of the smaller stuff I think we can try, like some of the shade shelters and things like that. The bigger stuff is definitely gonna be out at least 5 to 10 years.
Is the money from the, is it coming from the Met Council?
That's the idea, yes.
Has that been secured already, or is it?
Not yet, because
Okay.
I have to have this whole plan put together and submit to them. So my next steps are to draft the actual report that I have to submit to the Met Council. So that looks at boundaries, stewardship, operations, maintenance, a whole laundry list of things. And put that together. I would probably come back to you guys for a resolution of support after I have a public comment period on the report. And then we would bring it to the county and then to the Met Council. So this probably won't get approved until June of this year, of 2023.
What more do you need from us, other than us calling your boss?
Feel free. He always loves to hear from people. But nothing, if you don't have any comments or if you think of anything later, feel free just to email me too.
I think it looks good.
Okay.
I think it's well needed.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think it's changed since I was a kid back in the last century.
Mm-hmm. No, I remember it as a kid. There wasn't much there.
Right. Of course, there wasn't much anywhere in this area.
That's true.
Now if you could just bring up the water level for us, that would be nice. It's just going down daily.
I'll ask. I'll
Yeah.
ask the DNR.
See
What
if
can
they
you
can do
do?
it for the whole lake. Everybody turn on your hoses. Leave them on forever.
Well, very good. Otherwise, I think that's it.
All right.
Well, thanks, Karen. That was
Thanks,
great.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming.
thank
Very,
you.
very
Be in touch.
comprehensive.
You'll be hearing from me, I'm sure.
Well, that's good. We like to keep it, our fingers on the pulse.
Forward to it.
You want a resolution or a motion or anything on that, Nate, or should we just move
No,
on
it's
to
just
number 6?
informational for now, so.
Okay.
Give me 1 second to get back into here.
Well, thank you, Karen.
Yeah, thanks again.
Sorry for the weather,
That's
but
a lot.
Yes, it's all your fault.
you never know.
Steal my thumb drive.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
You too.
You too. Have a good holiday.
All right, ready for item 6?
Item 6, yeah.
Consider a recommendation for updates to the park dedication fees. With more development occurring throughout the city, staff have been asked to review our park dedication fees to compare how competitive they are compared to other communities in our area. Currently, for residential developments or lot splits, the city of East Bethel can elect to place 10% of new development land into parkland or receive funds equal to 10% of the marketable value of the property before development, not to exceed $2,000 per lot. For commercial or industrial development, this is lowered to 5% with a not to exceed value of $2,000 per acre. Attachment 1 is a summary of local municipalities and what they currently have listed for park dedication fees. If the commission deems it necessary to make any updates to the park dedication fees, some options to consider include charging a flat per lot unit fee, possibly setting up different fees for rural areas and areas served by municipal utilities, or adjusting how the value of the property is calculated. So attachment 1 there kind of goes through a bunch of different cities in our area: Ham Lake, Oak Grove, Isani. St. Francis has utilities, Isani has city utilities, Forest Lake has city utilities, Andover, Cambridge, Blaine have city utilities. No, actually all of them do except for Oak Grove and Ham Lake. Columbus, it has a small portion on their eastern property line there. You can kind of see just what everybody does it per lot or per unit for the residential units. We're the only city that uses a percentage.
But we didn't always do it by percentage, right, Tim?
No, and it was changed at one point, I think, when the
Do you
market.
remember back in the day?
Oh, I hate it changed.
I think at one time we did do a flat fee.
Last night, Jack gave a history on it, and it dated back to like 2005. It's when there were a bunch of changes made to the.
Is that when it was? I was thinking it was
2005.
08, but
And then they made a couple changes in 15 or 16, just to help make it a little bit more competitive, by lowering the overall amount.
So, Kevin, what did they say? Why did we change it from a flat fee to a percentage?
You asking me?
Yeah. You were at the meeting, I wasn't.
don't remember exactly what the motivation was.
I'm not sure either at the time.
I can't remember, that was, I'm so old now that I can't
I remember it happening, I just don't. Yes.
Yeah.
They actually made it cheaper.
Yeah, I think that was because at the time that was when we first moved up here and then the housing market. And so I think that was to be a motivator to developers to continue coming out here.
Yep, to try to encourage some development.
That makes sense.
So I guess the question then is, how do we come out ahead as a Parks Department? Do we go back to a flat fee? Or,
Well, we've had some internal discussions with our staff, kind of looked at what we could do. Right now, we kind of went over with the last meeting, with the multifamily stuff. It doesn't fit very well for what we're getting from it. You weren't here, but it was, like, I think we said if the Elevage property was built in Andover, they would have had like over $1 million of park dedication fees. I think we're getting 36,000 or something like that.
except there's a big difference in our population and,
Oh, there's all kinds of differences.
Yeah,
They're
there's
not
not a-
comparable, but,
There's not $1 million difference,
right.
right.
And that's where I think, when we look at this, the multifamily is probably where we're lacking on.
Right, and that apparently is how the world is going now, is more
Mhm.
multifamily.
Yep.
So one thing we kind of talked about doing maybe was setting up a tiered approach to it. When we looked at what it would cost to do the last couple developments that we took park dedication fees in lieu of land, compared that with the 10% value compared to what it would be for like around $2,000 a lot, it was basically the same. So the development on Baton, Steve Strandland's, there was 10 properties on there, and the city took $20,000 was the 10%, would have been $20,000 with $2,000 per lot. A lot of that would make it easier for when we come to the Park Commission. I can give you guys an actual number. There's gonna be 10 lots in this development.
Right,
It's gonna be $20,000 of park dedication.
Every time they change their plat, our number changes.
Yep, and the valuation, how it's valued varies by we go by the county market value, do we go by what an appraiser says? In our ordinance, it requires that they provide an appraisal, the city provides an appraisal, there's some negotiation. What both parties have done in the past is just agreed upon the taxable market value from Anoka County.
Well, yeah, otherwise we all end up paying for an appraisal and we end up with
Exactly.
less. So,
My thought was kind of what everybody else is doing, just do it per lot or per unit for that side of it. It would keep it simple. The developer would know coming in what they have to pay. The city would know upfront what they would be receiving in park dedication fees. What that amount is, that could be recommended by anybody, but it would make it a lot simpler on that side.
So I think that we should just look at what Ham Lake and Oak Grove is doing in that case. Make
Yeah.
us more competitive.
Yep, anything in there. I mean, Isani's 1,500.
But they're also more concentrated, so their lots are smaller, right?
Well, that's another thing we kind of mentioned too. We could actually break it up into, so park dedication for a residential lot in a rural area, which would be typically acreage in our area. We could have a separate fee for single-family homes that are served in the municipal area, which would be like Viking Preserve, a Whispering Aspen type development. And then a separate fee for multifamily, when you're gonna have apartments or townhomes or twin homes.
Is our minimum lot size still 2 acres?
It depends on what zone
I
you're
mean,
in.
other than the concentrated
Some of them are
neighborhood.
still 10 acre, I believe, is the minimum size.
Well, and then you get into somewhere it's quarter acre.
Well, that's what I'm saying, like,
So
the new
city
neighborhoods
sewer
that are
water.
going in, those are quarter acre because they're,
The ones that are served by city sewer,
right.
Yep.
yeah.
Which is more like a city neighborhood.
Yep. So we define those as areas that are served by city municipal sewer and water, city utilities.
So those are gonna be limited anyway, right along 65.
Mhm.
Correct, yep.
Same with the multifamily in most cases.
Right, because I can't even imagine what that septic system would look like.
Yeah, it'd be big.
They tried it in Oak Grove for a while. Ended up tying into their big system up
I
there.
was gonna say, how does that work?
Yeah. I think that makes sense to break it up into those 3 or 4,
Tiers.
like you said. But we definitely need to get something more out of the multifamily than what we're getting. That's just not not sustainable for us, especially if on a multifamily we end up having to put a park in.
Right.
Yep.
Because there's just not, I mean, that elevage at $35,000, that's not enough for us to even,
And it's not even enough for a park.
Can't even
Well,
buy a piece
yeah,
of
we
playground
can't even-
equipment.
Well, and we were also looking at putting bike trails and stuff into some of these places so we could start connecting to
Mhm.
biking.
Yep.
Which is what everybody asked me about.
and you can't, at that kind of fee, you can't even begin to think about it. And with what we've got for budget, we'd be farther out than
Right,
our last proposal,
right.
you know, I mean, not a one of us will still be alive when it gets done,
No.
so.
Well, it sounds
What
like
are you
you
trying to
support
say to
it.
me?
And at some point down in this area, you know, with this Elevage property, with the golf course property, there's another big chunk of undeveloped land owned by Osborne.
Osborne's.
We kind of, Park Commission's recommended a kind of a bigger, nicer park down that area, and that's gonna cost
Which is
money to
what we
build.
were already talking about.
Yep.
On top of the land donation, it's gonna cost money to develop, so some of this would help fund that if we could make it reasonable without being, can still be competitive, I guess.
How many developments do we have currently in the works, do you know offhand?
Right now, just two,
Just 2?
Elevage and Whispering, or Hidden Pines are the two that are.
I have a question going back to the residential lot piece. In the tiering it with the rural versus the more dense housing. Would you make the more dense version a little bit less then? Because it's a smaller lot?
That's something you could recommend, and that's
Because-
kind of what we thought too.
You know, I'm thinking that if you have smaller yards, you have more need for park. So it'd be nice to have more money there to have a nicer park too, so.
But there's more houses typically too to help cover that, so it's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah.
We kind of liked how Sandy did it with the 1,500 per unit, and then 25 less if they had a recreation facility built with it.
Is that a shared recreation facility though, or is it just for
It's
their?
not really defined. That's something we'd have to define.
Just trying to
If it's open to
think.
the public or a private one, you mean?
Right, because we looked at that at Elevage, they were thinking about having a private park, or not park. It
Private.
was their playground, basically.
Right.
And then they kept changing back and forth.
Their current plan has a clubhouse with a pool,
But that would be
But it's
private.
private.
private, correct?
Mhm.
Which wouldn't qualify for
Right,
recreational facilities, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's not a
right, if it's private, that's,
Right.
Nobody's gonna be able to go
private
in
facility.
outside of it.
That's something we'd have to define when we figure this out.
Yep.
And this is probably gonna take a few meetings between the Park Commission and the City Council and everybody, Planning Commission.
right, because everybody's gonna have an opinion.
Yeah.
Yep, just wanna get the ball rolling, get some ideas turning around.
I don't know if you wanna go as low as 1,500 though, do you?
For the, which one?
Per unit, for the residential.
Multi-family.
No, I don't think so either.
I think that's kind of low. I mean, if you look at what we're getting in Ham Lake and Oak Grove for the residential, I think we could be comparable with that.
But then they're not doing anything with their commercial industrial either, where we are.
Let me address that real quick too. There's a there's a court case before I think it's the Minnesota Supreme Court on whether or not cities can charge for park dedication fees on commercial and industrial land, because they do not, their, I guess, side is that they're not contributing, they don't use the parks, so they shouldn't be paying for it.
So their people never leave the building to go eat lunch?
That's what the, so I,
Yeah.
It's also a community development thing, so.
Jack and I are thinking for right now, we kind of just leave that.
Just
as
leave it
is
blank for
Open-ended.
now?
Until we see what comes out of this court case. I think our city attorney said he probably thought within maybe 3 to 4 months they might have a,
But we'll still be working on this anyway,
Yeah.
right, so.
Is that at the state level?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
You mentioned planning commission, my mind was kinda going there too, just to get their opinion on how this might affect some of their projects too, so.
Yep, they were a big player in the last time it changed. in
Well, and I know some of the new
2015.
commercial buildings come with the courtyards with the fountains and
Yeah.
walking trails and, you know, if they're gonna do a campus, which currently we don't have anything like that, but somebody might come in and wanna, so do we consider that also in the picture based on their plan?
Gee, maybe Aggressive can do that.
It's something to consider. Have you been to the Loch Ness Park in Blaine? We always called it Garbage Hill growing up on Lexington Avenue.
Haven't been
It's
there.
kind of hidden back in there.
Yeah.
Well, there's another one in Fridley is also called that, so.
Loch Ness Park? Oh, yeah. If you go down Lexington, when you get to 109th, there's a big building on the left that's almost like a little mini skyscraper.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
Infinite Campus. They do
Oh,
the-
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just to the
So
north.
they're,
Right by Home Depot.
part of their grounds is tied into the park, the city park. So they have a trail that goes through their campus, but it's also a city trail.
So it heads back where the baseball fields and where the old barn used to be?
Nope, this is
That's a
an
lot further
all natural
north.
area. They have
Okay.
a disc golf course back there too, but there's a big, used to be a sliding hill when I was
Yeah,
a kid, but,
yeah.
now it's just walking trails. But part of it, like you were talking about, connects with the campus of that commercial area. Actually goes right up next to their windows.
So then they are connected to the city then, so that is something we need to
Something
look
to
at.
consider when development occurs for sure.
Well, I think you should keep going with it.
Any recommendations on amounts at all we can kind of bring forward to the planning commission and city council?
Well, I think for sure we should look at Ham Lake and Oak Grove because
Mhm.
they're most like us.
Right.
Mhm.
But they don't have anything for multifamily, so we need to decide what we want to do there.
You land right in the middle, 2,400.
Well, you look at St. Francis and Forest Lake too, they're $2,500. I mean, it's,
But
Yeah.
they're sewer, right? Water sewer.
yeah,
Some of those, yeah.
Some of
Some of
them.
St. Francis is rural acreage lodge,
Out past the school district building.
yeah.
yeah, definitely out there.
What do you think for an amount? For start?
I think we should start up around that $2,500.
Right. I think we should just go there first.
Okay.
Go
Yeah.
for it.
Sounds
Since
good to
we
me.
do have
I think-
amenities here
I think
in
it's
East
a great
Bethel that
idea.
Ham Lake doesn't have.
I think it's a good idea.
Well, it's
Yeah,
always
we've
easier
heard
to
a
go
lot.
down than it is to go up.
Bonnie supports it too. I talked to her about it, so, even though she's not here.
She's here in
Yeah, we
spirit.
won't take a motion on it, this is kind of just to get discussion going and, we'll probably have to come back in January, February with it.
And if we're gonna look at just a per unit, then we don't need to look at the size of the multifamily development then, right? Because we'll just be doing it by unit. So if you come in and say you want 25 townhouses, it'd be the same as if you came in with 50, right?
Yeah, it would be applied the same,
The same dollar
if you
amount.
do, if you do it by unit, yes, yep.
Maybe that's why they don't have the multifamily.
What about the apartments?
Some
What,
of 'em.
what, are they considered, cause there's however
Well,
many
that's true. Is
units
that
in
just
there,
one
so it's.
building or?
That's, another discussion, but they usually go by per unit in an apartment building too.
So if there's 15 units, that's, okay.
15 times 2,500.
Yep.
Be a good one.
The only one that split it up was Coon Rapids, they have a different amount for a duplex versus all others.
It's because they have like every
They
kind
have
of
a lot of
housing.
duplexes
They
and
do have a lot
perhaps
of
do
duplexes.
Well, they have condos, they have
townhomes.
townhomes, separated townhomes, connected townhomes, complexes that are townhomes.
Yeah.
Anything you could ever want.
I grew up.
What
in
about the
Coon Rapids, too.
tiers? Do you want us to talk about that a little bit more, or are you,
Absolutely, yeah.
what are you guys thinking on, so for the, the high-density homes? Do you want that to be a smaller amount, or do you want to keep it at the 2,500 across the board?
You know, the problem with a multifamily or something like that is it's gonna put a bigger strain on, parks than a handful of single-family homes. If you start putting, like the Elevage, how many units, 135 units?
196.
196 now? Okay.
250.
Yeah, I think they
Okay.
pulled that first one up.
Well, anyway, I mean.
It's changed so many times.
That's gonna put a lot bigger strain on a park system than a guy putting in 10 houses.
So keeping it up higher,
Well, the problem is if something like that, like the Elevage goes in and they do 200, just for round figures, 200 units, and we have to put a park in, even at $2,500, 200 units barely gets us enough money to put a park in.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't cost us less than $500,000 to go develop a park by the time we either get the land that they have and that they give it to us, or go buy some land and put a parking lot in, put, some playground equipment in, and by the time you're done, you've blown $500,000 before you can blink.
yeah,
You know,
especially
we-
there
It's the
by,
same number we were using to develop.
Right, especially if we're gonna
Yeah.
start
And
putting
we
all
just don't have
electrical in the pavilions
budget for that.
and that kind of thing.
in the areas where they're putting in the high density, it'd be nice to have a park, Elevage in that area. They all have small yards or whatever, somewhere where they
Especially-
can take their
well,
dog
and we don't have a
run
park
and-
down there yet.
No.
That's
Right,
the
But-
issue itself.
so you're talking
It-
parking and
It wouldn't
everything else
matter
you need to
where it
put in.
went, I mean, we'd have to
Something.
develop a park. The only place we could put something like that in that we wouldn't have to develop a park is if they put it in Denise's backyard,
Hey,
and that ain't happening.
I can put a swimming pool in that ditch that they put in there.
Well, I mean, literally, anywhere we put this, we're gonna have to develop a new park, anywhere somebody puts a development like that. Cause we don't have parks where there's open land for that
For this.
type of development.
Oh, I thought we did have, Nate, don't we have some? Oh, we can't build there though. We bought back that school, the tree lot.
Oh, state school land?
Haven't heard much on that lately. I think it's still owned.
But I think, isn't that the only place that we had the possibility of having land that, or is there something else down there? I don't have my map.
We have the property next to the ice arena.
But that's not next to anywhere that anything's going up.
Yeah.
And even if something went up next to the ice arena and we've got property there, it's still gonna cost us a ton of money to develop.
Well,
a
I'm just
park.
wondering if we already have land we can use, is what I'm thinking. Because then we're gonna have to start looking at these developments and figure out where we want the park, so
Mhm.
that we can get the land set aside right away.
Oh, absolutely. But that's why to me, a multifamily development is gonna cost us more as a parks department
For sure.
than somebody putting in 10 houses. Cause you put in 10 houses, you really can't expect the city to have a park there for that. But if you're putting in a multifamily housing unit, that's got, just for instance, 200 units, you really need to have some facility for them.
Do we know anything about the people that bought the other side of Elevage there, who bought the golf course, what they're gonna do?
Nothing that, it's up in the air still. It was sold and then, I don't know,
Fell through. It's,
So through.
they had a couple of issues that came up, so it's still kind of up in the air.
can golf there again next spring.
If only I golfed. I have so many issues tonight. I don't boat, I don't golf. Why am I here?
I guess I'm in favor of keeping it the same across the board, at least for now.
Yeah, I
For-
mean, we're just floating these
too.
ideas, right? So
And that's-
we're not,
If you look at the
tied to
other cities,
anything.
that's kind of what they all do too.
Yeah.
It's the
well,
same.
it seems like based on everything here, everybody's kind of all over the board.
You put in a more dense housing development, you have more need for a park. It's gonna cost us more. I'm with, with Tim on that.
And I guess if we're waiting on the commercial portion, I think that,
Yeah, until that court case is decided, it really is kind of a moot point.
right, we don't want to dedicate our time to something that we're going to have to toss.
Right.
Yep.
One disadvantage that we have compared to some of these cities on here is so especially the municipal utilities areas, our sewer access and water access charges are a little bit higher than everybody else. So when a developer comes in, they have a little bit more money and that side of things. So I think that was part of the reason that they lowered them on the park dedication, is to make their overall municipal fees.
That was gonna be my other question, was the whack and sack.
Yeah, ours is a little bit higher just because it's a standalone system at this sewer plant there. And some of that can be negotiated on each development too, as the city works with the developers on that too, but.
Do you have any idea how much higher a whack and sack is than other?
Not off the top of my head, it's not huge, but it is a little bit higher.
Well, eventually, is Ham Lake or Oak Grove going to hook up like they were predicting?
You'd have to look into the crystal ball for that one.
When I get home.
Yep.
Little I have
No plans in the future. Oak Grove has some.
I have my own special room now that the kids are gone, so.
Oak Grove is hooked up to city utilities in a few areas.
Right.
The golf course, the ponds, that whole development.
And
then-
Isani, I think, is the same way, where some parts of the city are connected and some parts aren't.
Yeah, I think the majority of the downtown area is, and then as you get away from downtown, there's well and septic. So it sounds like a per unit dollar amount for residential's on rural residential areas, and then the same amount would it be per unit then for multifamily and residential areas and the sewer areas? Keep it just a flat rate for all of them, keep it simple.
Yeah, I think so.
And then commercial will
Wait.
hold off in a little bit.
Do you want a motion on that, or are you good with that
No,
one
I
too,
think if
just for
I can
discussion?
just summarize that and present that when we do our staff meeting, and then the council and the planning commission go from there too, and Kevin can relay that to the council when they talk about it too, so.
Okay.
And it'll come back to park commission too for a final approval at some point, if we do make changes, so.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't wanna make it sound like a money grab, but, it's really,
Well, I think we should aim high and then we can adjust as we
Right.
go along.
We don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot.
at the rate it's going now, at our current rates, we can't even put a parking lot in, much less put a park,
Right.
Yeah.
so,
We could plant some trees, though.
only on Arbor Day.
There's
The
your.
county's talking 6 million for one park, and
Yeah,
And that's just
50,
improvements.
60 years of our budget.
right.
For sure, I won't make it that long.
I think it's time. Time to raise them.
Okay, well, thanks for that. We'll get that presented, like I said, we'll bring that back. That'll be in discussion for a while.
Alright, Sue isn't here, so we'll go to item 8.
Well, so for this one, we just need a recommendation. Let me just pull that up quick, hang on one second. So Sue has already indicated that she would like to serve another term.
Oh,
So this is item 7. The current term for Commissioner Jefferson is set to expire on January 31st, 2023. Commissioner Jefferson has submitted a letter seeking to serve an additional 3-year term that would expire on January 31st, 2026.
I see, okay.
So we're looking for a recommendation and a
I
vote.
recommend we rehire Sue Jefferson.
Continue her term. I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to keep Sue on the board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, and motion passes.
No discussion?
Do you want?
Do you want to discuss?
No, I just, be contrary
We'll discuss,
sometimes.
this next one we'll discuss.
Yeah, is that you?
No.
No, it is
Oh,
not.
it's you.
Suddenly, my crystal ball is a little dimmer.
Uh-oh.
Item 8, the current term for Commissioner Lashinsky is set to expire on January 31st, 2023. Commissioner Lashinsky has submitted a letter to seeking to serve an additional 3-year term and that would expire on January 31st, 2026.
I'll make a motion to continue with her,
I'll
with the
second that.
recommendation.
The motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
The crowd cheers.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and the motion passes.
Woo-hoo,
Oh, this one.
Another 3 years.
here's trouble.
Item 9, the current term for Commissioner Hoffman is set to expire on January 31st, 2023. Commissioner Hoffman has submitted a letter seeking to serve an additional 3-year term that would expire on January 31st, 2026.
I'll make a recommendation for Tim Hoffman to serve another term on the Parks Commission.
And I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and the motion passes.
Thank all 3 of you for submitting another term. This will be presented to the City Council at their last meeting of the year. We do still have an open seat that we're taking applications for. I know one of the candidates that was running for City Council has expressed an interest in serving. Jack and I are talking with anybody. I think you guys had talked about maybe submitting something too, so.
I've talked to quite a few people about all the open positions, and just to put it out there on the YouTube channel, the only way you're gonna learn what's going on in the city is if you start getting involved. So this is a great way to do it. We're a great commission to be on. We're the most fun. We are parks.
Yeah.
What can you say about parks that's negative?
That's right.
All right, item 10.
Item 10, this was, consider a recommendation for funding repairs to the Coon Lake Community Center parking lot. The Coon Lake Community Center is looking to upgrade their parking lot. They've asked the City of East Bethel to participate in the funding of the parking lot upgrades. The quote the community center received was approximately $50,000, and they are seeking a 50% cost share with the City of East Bethel. At the November 15th, 2022 Park Commission meeting, the Commission considered a reduction in the 2024 allocated money for park improvements to the Coon Lake City Park if money was needed to assist in the Coon Lake Beach Community Center parking lot. Consideration was tabled until the idea was presented at the next Coon Lake Community Center meeting for neighborhood feedback. And I believe Mary Helen has
Yep.
some of that.
Yep, so Bonnie and I attended the meeting last night, and Bonnie brought it up for discussion and explained that the money would have to come out of our budget allocation for the future. We didn't say when, we just said it coming up down the road. And they chose not to pursue that, so we can probably take that off and not move forward with that.
Okay.
They were all very opposed to reducing the funding for our parks, so, yeah. So that's where we were.
Okey doke. So I guess we don't really need a motion on it if they're withdrawing their request, so we can just let that one go then.
So they're totally withdrawing their request? Okay.
Yep.
Just to verify
Yes,
that's what they said.
we're gonna look at other options, so explore some other options that might be out there.
Okey doke.
Awesome.
They must be excited about their parks.
Oh, they are, and we really look forward to having improvements made. So
Yeah.
everybody is so excited about that happening.
We'll get into that more, what the improvements are actually gonna be, probably when we start doing our budgeting for this next spring.
Sure.
Like we talked about, maybe taking some money away from that skateboard park area and using that someplace that might have more use or more people that would benefit from it, so.
Yeah.
A little more impact.
Yeah.
Yep, so
Very
that
good.
makes that easier.
Item 11,
All right.
City Council report. Mr. Lewis?
One of the big things we covered last night is we do have an approved 2023 budget for the city. So Nate will be paid.
Oh, good.
Most important.
That's good.
And we also approved the you're always gonna have consideration for a big project.
What's the current plan for that?
The current plan originally constituted or proposed, it was gonna have single-family homes.
Yep.
It was gonna have townhouses for sale.
Mhm.
And it was gonna have 96 apartments.
Yep.
The current, as currently manifested and as approved, it's gonna be 200, approximately 200, 215 rental townhouses. And that's part of the consideration is that it's renters instead of owners.
Mhm.
And it's nothing against renters, I think every one of us probably started renting in life, that's the way you start out. But it's just not knowing, it's an unknown, what that's gonna look like. But the company constructing it didn't request any TIF, tax increment financing help or anything like that. And one thing that I got clear last night is the developer is covering all of our internal costs of engineering, legal, and one other aspect, internal costs associated with the project, so that's good, because they're considerable bills with Hankinson, whatever the name is, the engineering company.
Mhm.
So it's gonna make a major difference in East Bethel, at least out in the 65 corridor, for sure.
Well, it's gonna change the makeup, yeah.
Yeah.
But it also might bring in enough to get some of the other development that we'd like to see started.
Yeah, it's definitely, if, it's true what they say about rooftops and people who, have retail-oriented business, whether it's a grocery or whatever, want to see rooftops, want to see bodies.
And
Whether
it'll
it's
clean up
townhouse.
that area a little bit too. Maybe some people will do some building improvements along the corridor.
So it will accomplish that, it'll draw attention, I'm sure of that. People who might want to put in a gas station or a grocery store. Of course, you've got the speedway on the west side of 65 and 187 is going to be completely raised.
Right.
And a new holiday is going to go
Like the
there.
one on Crosstown.
Huh?
It's gonna be like the one on Crosstown.
Exactly, and then, as you can see there, the folks who are developing this, Elevage, sold that lot to Quick Trip. And they're gonna be right across the street with a big fancy Quick Trip, pretty much like the one down on Lexington, down south of 125th Street. So there's gonna be a lot going on out there.
Is that Quick Trip going in this spring?
They said they're gonna start construction, I think, second quarter of 2023.
Well, they were still looking at, they had some problems with the swampy.
I heard there was something delayed
Yeah, they've
or
had to
something.
leave the land sit for quite some time, it was self-compacted.
Surcharging, yeah.
But I think it's ready to go.
I-
Okay, with all.
Everybody's waiting.
Yeah.
And Quick Trip's plan, if they've got a car wash, is 105 days from start to open. From the
They
time
put 'em
they
up pretty quick.
From the time they start till the
Well, if you
time
can put
they
in a
open.
Scooter's coffee shop in a week,
Yeah, right.
basically.
Right.
Where was that?
Whoever's in charge of that project.
That's on
That's
on
the,
Constance there.
the.
It used to
that's
be Red Ox.
Red Ox.
It's like almost ready to open, and that only started,
When's
Like a
Holiday
month
gonna
ago.
start?
I'm sorry?
When's Holiday gonna start building?
We have the plan set, they sent some stuff back to them to update, and we're still waiting to hear back from them, so it's getting closer, but we haven't had a start date on that. I'm guessing probably in the springtime
First
too.
they got a demo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have they got some of the same issues as far as swampy land there?
No, they're pretty high over there.
Okay.
well, how long is that Speedway, which was Super America, how long has that been there?
But they're
Ages.
planning on going all the way back to the next
Right, to aggressive hydraulics, right?
To the next street, yeah.
next street, and that's.
This is the plan that they had last night. It wasn't they made a few changes since the park commission looked at it. They added a couple trails that we talked about, got the easements for it. There was a group of townhomes along here that they removed. This will all be commercial in this area here. On here, none of this is designed yet. They just put a proposed grocery store, proposed retail.
Well, and they were looking at a daycare, right?
Originally, yeah.
Daycare is gonna be over here, next to the Quick Trip.
Where's
Okay.
65? Is it up?
Right
Right there.
up
That's what I
here.
thought. Okay, I can't read it very good.
This is our roundabout, and then road we have constructed. These are the two roads that come off of that road.
Okay.
The golf course starts right
Well, the
here.
fire department and sheriffs and stuff will be happy that there's an entrance in on both. So you can get in and out instead of
Yeah.
getting stuck in the middle there.
Yeah, but this is also up in the air, but, basically they did some changes to the road widths and, added a few easements. We have, utility easements that come off of here to connect in the future for water connections and sewer connections to this development. Then a trail comes off this side to connect.
So you got the two trail easements there then.
Yep, that was all being recorded as part of the development.
So are they apartment buildings?
So the rest of that trail there, that
They're
kinda
rental
shows, are they gonna
townhouses.
build that?
There,
They have
Yeah,
those in
originally
St.
proposed
Francis.
it was gonna be an apartment building, but 96
They're
right?
rental.
Rental
That went away.
yeah.
I'm making up my own words.
If you go to the, planning, if you ever wanna see, I think in the plan, I think the city council might have it in their packet too, but the planning commission had, they had pictures of what these kind of are proposed to look like.
They have the fancy ones. We just get the drawing.
They have like actual renderings of what they're gonna look like. These are, like row townhomes, there's some, fourplexes, I think somewhere here there's a couple.
4 and 6, aren't they?
Yeah, I think there was three.
Yeah, the 6 are down into the left there.
Yeah, there was some, I think there was some duplexes in here at some point too, but they might have changed those.
Yeah, I don't see those anymore.
It has changed quite a bit since we looked at it a year
But
ago.
they
Oh,
they
yeah.
are gonna put that trail in.
They're
that's-
building the trails, correct, yeah.
Okay,
There was some, they were gonna maybe wait to build this piece, until, they know it's gonna take place over here.
until I
It
actually
sounds
go
like,
somewhere?
it sounds like they might just build it when they have everything on site and just do it all at once,
Sweet.
but we'll wait to see how that works.
There's gonna
So
be
that's
some
a really
disappointed
nice,
turkeys once that starts, cause there's a whole
Lot of
bunch of them there.
Did we make a decision last month regarding whether we're gonna take the donation or were we gonna put in a park?
Park dedication for this
That's what
one.
I thought,
Yep.
okay, okay.
We don't typically take the land because we have land that we've never used.
Right. But I couldn't, with the way you guys were talking, I was thinking you guys were
Yeah.
planning
So
a park.
there-
in
We
there,
are
and
planning a
and
park
I'm going,
eventually, but
No,
not
I'm glad to see that they're putting the trail in
There's-
so that they don't come to us
future park.
5 years
Okay.
from now and say, hey, we want this
I
trail.
couldn't keep up.
That was, started planning that before you
So-
came on board.
There's more phases to this plan
Okay, yeah,
that
I've heard that.
kind of go into
It's
where
like
the golf
phase
course
1,
is there.
phase 2.
Okay,
So once we do that, that's gonna be a place we're gonna consider.
another park, a park.
A literal
consider
park,
Taking,
yeah.
taking the land and building a park.
Yeah, so it
That's,
really,
it's an area
really-
we've identified as where we need a park.
So it's really important we change this fee structure so we can maybe benefit from.
Yeah, we won't benefit from this one.
Yeah.
No, this
It's a little
one's
too
already
late.
We won't at all? It's
Well,
too late?
Wow.
35,000.
30,
Contracts are already,
Oh,
the
okay.
agreements are already signed.
Oh,
yep, the fee
okay.
schedule.
They're kind of grandfathered in.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, so
The
we
golf
won't-
course is, so this was, 50-some acres of actual development right here, I think. The golf
Yeah,
course,
the original total was 62 and
Yeah.
whatever the net was.
I think the golf course is 180 acres, so
Okay.
we're talking a lot more. And then Osborne's somewhere, maybe more than that.
So there's some upcoming potential that we could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we could actually, if we
We just
change
don't
the
wanna
fee
get, we
structure,
just don't wanna
actually
get
maybe
ahead of
build
our
a park
skis
out of
because
it
Yeah.
things change so much.
versus having raw land that we can't afford to put anything on.
Interesting.
Tim, you're sounding like kind of bitter and an old man now.
Just
We're an uplifting commission here.
tired of parks being
Wow.
broke all the time.
You got anything else, Kevin?
No, that pretty well does. I mean, you all know that Stephanie moved on to the community development director. She was a
She may come back. She's been back before, so.
Yeah, you never know, but, anyway, so in the interim, Aaron Bird is gonna be the interim community development director, however long it takes to find a new person. And, I don't know if you guys know, but Aaron Bird sits on the city council of Cambridge. You guys know that?
No.
He's on the city council of Cambridge.
Hmm.
An interesting thing.
Well, it's not a conflict of interest because he doesn't live here, so.
Right.
It would be worse if he lived here and also was the.
Was on the city council.
Yeah, exactly, like, Questions can be raised.
Nate, you got anything else for us?
No, I think we're in pretty good shape. We're working, the ice arena's got a lot of, really positive feedback if you
Yeah,
get in there.
that's what I've been hearing.
The
is-
lobby is really nice. The, concession area is greatly improved. They're making lots of money there and stuff, so.
And we're gonna
It's going
rent
well.
a trailer again this year for the,
No, I
Outside rink?
think we talked about it, was it last meeting?
was that, was that because I was out with my brand new granddaughter?
Oh,
Yes.
congratulations. They raised our fees on that trailer from about $3,000 a season, and it costs up to about $9,000 this year, so we. pulled
Holy
the plug.
moly.
And we're gonna look at building something, a permanent structure there, maybe with some storage that we can, we have, some turf inside of that arena that we don't, really don't place to
So are we
store
gonna
it.
look more at like concrete,
Something more permanent,
not
like a,
something that's gonna burn down or fall over during a storm?
it might burn down.
Sod house?
What is that for? Not a-
The warming house for the outdoor rink, and we used to rent it was basically an office trailer, but the prices went tripled over COVID, so.
All right, anybody else have anything they wanna add? Congrats on the grandchild.
I didn't do anything
Motion to adjourn?
except pinch her cheeks.
Motion's been made
I'll second
and
that
seconded
motion.
to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Just everybody
all-
have a safe holiday.
Oh, yeah. Have a good Christmas.
I gotta say, the plows have been out. Nate, you guys are doing a stellar job. Haven't heard
You know,
any
a couple more
complaints
times
yet.
this week, it sounds like.
I don't know, they're slacking off, they haven't hit my mailbox yet.
I couldn't give it at any,
All right,
I'm not
all
gonna
in-
jinx it.
All in favor to adjourn? Say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.